evening, everyone. Welcome to this session for senior citizens on safe and smart saving to take care of your retirement years. The session has been made possible due to Disha Counseling and ICICI Bank. On behalf of SIS College of Management Studies, the venue partner for this event, I warmly welcome one and all present here. Let me allow to introduce Ms. Sucheta Dalal, our first speaker for the evening, on safe investing and how not to lose money. She is a founder trustee of Moneylife Foundation and the managing editor of Moneylife magazine. The second session will focus on smart investing and will be conducted by Mr. Devashish Basu, the editor and publisher of Moneylife magazine and also a founder trustee of Moneylife Foundation. Please join your hands together to welcome Mr. Basu and Mr. Devashish. May I now request Ms. Dalal to initiate the session one for this evening. All this.
Good afternoon, everybody, and it gives us great pleasure to be here at Vashi. And I want to start by thanking SIS College for making this happen. We did a program for their students recently, and they've been really kind to give us this facility. This is the first time in 6 years that Moneylife Foundation is actually doing a program in the suburbs. And we've managed it. It's a tough job for a small NGO to discover where to do it and how to do it and manage things from the others. So if it wasn't for SIS College, this wouldn't happen. Am I right? So let's start with this. How to plan your post-retirement life for safety, security and financial independence. It's quite simple. I think we have to start by redefining what is seniority. Earlier it used to be this big number of 60, and I think today 60 is young. Okay? I don't think anybody at 60 feels that they're ready to retire. Many people don't. On the other hand, you have people who want to retire at 35 after they've gone into e-commerce and made $1 billion. So nothing is the same that it ever was 15, 20 years ago. Each one has to look at their own lives depending on their needs and their interests and their passions and define themselves. So at 80, my mother is 81 and we joke that she's busier than us and we have to take an appointment for her time, right? So 80 is the new 60. Everybody is much fitter than they used to be. It's a great time for people. We worked with a lot of senior citizens organizations for a memorandum to the government, and we had asked Dr. S.A. Dave, who was a former chairman of SEBI, to come and head it, and he said something quite remarkable. He said that, I think that this is not the silver period of my life, it's a golden period. I have no tensions, no responsibilities, don't have to get up and go to work every day. And he says, I've never been happier, I'm traveling. Because there are a few things you have to look for. One is, if you have taken care of the most important thing, which is the galloping cost of living, of Medicare, of insurance. These three have to be in place, otherwise it cannot be the golden years. Second, most important, some renovation. Heart issues, teeth, eyes, knees. Okay, Dr. Dave had got both his knees replaced and then was going to the Alps to hike. Okay, a big role model for all of us. I wish I can do that. You have to plan sometimes for living as much. After 60, when your lifespan has increased, if it's 80, if it's 90, if it's 100. I just read an article 3 days ago in Business Insider. It's an American story. 2 women who were celebrating their birthdays, 102nd birthday and 103rd birthday. The lady who was 102 still runs a catering service, and the lady who was 103 is a painter. Still sells paintings and exhibits at a gallery. So I think we just have to redefine age completely. We don't know what we have in store for us. It's not in our hand, but we have to be prepared if necessary to live on savings for 20 to 30 years. This is a part that Devashish is going to talk about much more extensively. You also have to remember that when you're living on your savings, your income fluctuates. So there is nothing like a steady and increasing paycheck that comes to you every month. The flip side, India is one of the worst places when it comes to Medicare. This is a good death guide, is what The Economist published a few years ago. And look at where India figures, 134. It is like the ease of doing business, we're at 143. Even how tough life gets for you is pretty bad. And that is where I urge many of you, I think some of you would be pretty smart in terms of your savings. You're well taken care of. but there are a lot of issues which require advocacy. And I keep telling people that when we started Moneylife Foundation, we do seminars in order to build a network, in order to explain to people what is wrong and what can go wrong. But our biggest interest is not in conducting innumerable seminars, but in advocacy for good policy making. Because you have a good policy, it helps a million people. I do a seminar, it helps 100 people come and attend it. And that is a very, very long and painful way and impossible way of reaching people. You have to get policies in place. And there are any number of policies that you need for senior citizens that are just not there. Lots of big, powerful senior citizen organizations work only for the really poor people, and that's the right thing. They have to. I mean, there is a bigger need there undoubtedly. But people like you and me, people in this room, we also are the victims of bad policies, and unless you wake up to the fact that you have to participate in the process of lobbying for policy change, things are not going to happen. I'm going to run through them a little bit in my session, and I'll tell you where the pain points are, and you need to take note of them. Inadequate regulation is one of the key areas, and absolutely slow and expensive judiciary. So when things work, they work wonderfully. If something goes wrong, you put your money in a wrong fixed deposit, you put your money somewhere else, then you realize that the system simply does not work. Okay? And we have no solutions for it. So we keep telling people, don't come to us after you lost money, because we can promise you nothing. I can sit down there and pretend I'll help you, but it doesn't work. The system does not work. None of the independent regulators have a mechanism which automatically works to resolve your grievances, because there's not enough pressure from this middle class group. And it doesn't matter what your age is. You can be 25 and lose money in an ATM. You're in as bad a situation as you are if you were a 70-year-old losing money in an ATM. The big difference is this, that a 25-year-old is probably more savvy about technology and a 70-year-old is not. So the chances of them losing money are much more. And so some imperatives, you have to avoid losses because you're living on your savings. So that 0.5% more somewhere or 1% more for which you withdraw a safe saving and put your money, it really is a life-changing loss. Avoid financial and emotional traps. You will be surprised how many people lose large chunks of their savings because they couldn't say no to someone or the other, usually their family. Make safe and sensible investments, very obvious thing to say. Strive for financial independence, plan for your loved ones. I'm going to go through all this. Now, one of the reasons where we are all in the same boat, one of the reasons people lose a lot of money is that the human mind does not know how to evaluate financial risk. Over millions of years of evolution, we know how to understand danger. So you see something coming at you, the body automatically reacts and runs. You can sense physical danger, but when it comes to financial products, the mind is just not wired in order to be able to do it. Not everybody understands finance and mathematics. It is nothing to be ashamed of. Very few people really are able to look through these products, and this is modern research. A lot of work that has happened, especially after the global crisis of 2008, where people wonder how smart, sensible people could get carried away and make completely disastrous financial decisions. It is modern research that shows that the human mind does not know how to evaluate risk. One of the reasons why the human mind does not know how to evaluate risk is also the contrary messages that are thrown to us all the time. And these are some of the messages that happen. One, we are transferring our experience of buying consumer goods to the financial world. So if I want to buy a toaster or I want to buy a car, depending on my ability, my finances, my wallet, I decide what is it that I want. I'm buying a phone, I can decide whether I want a Chinese make or I want an iPhone. Okay? We translate exactly that to the financial world. And we think that if I go for a big name and I'm paying a lot more, I should get higher returns and better services. It does not work like that. The financial world is probably the only place where a big brand name means nothing. It only means maybe an air-conditioned ambiance, a cappuccino served to you, nothing else. Okay? You are as likely to lose money with the biggest names, and don't forget HSBC closed its wealth management service yesterday. And these are the people with whom we fought to recover 1.3 crore for Sucheta Dalal. And I used to say that the manner in which they destroyed our wealth, I call it financial gang rape, because in every possible way that they could loot her, she was looted in a wealth management service which charged her a fee for it. Okay? At least in rape that doesn't happen. I don't think anybody pays a fee to lose the way they do. I mean, I'm using a really strong word and I should not, but honestly there is no other way. You tell her buy an insurance, it's wrong. You tell her to take a home loan, she does not need. You tell her to buy mutual funds which are supposed to be long-term investments and you churn them. It happens only in the financial world. You don't have it anywhere else. The other thing is that unlike a car, you can't test drive a mutual fund or an insurance. Okay? You buy it, it's at least a year before you know whether you made the right or the wrong decision. And it's too late by then to change anything. And insurance is even worse. When you have a problem, you probably paid premiums for 5 and 6 years, and only when you go to make a claim you realize that it was a disastrous mistake. Next, you get influenced by these guys. Okay? I'm a big fan of all of them. And I would probably listen to Sachin Tendulkar telling me which water purifier to buy. But for God's sake, does he know which insurance to sell you? Right? But he's God. So, Sachin Tendulkar ne bola, and I'm not joking, a whole village in Maharashtra, some smart fund manager managed to tell everybody in the village to buy child insurance. And we did some numbers that discovered it was the most, for the first 3 years, almost 90% of the money was going into admin and costs. Okay? Nothing was insured. Irfan, kam insurance lene ki bimari, again, you remember that ad. We did some numbers and we discovered that this company that he was advertising gives the lowest, redeems the least number of claims, which means jada insurance low, jada rejections only. And this is what was happening. And of course, the great Amitabh Bachchan. I'm a big fan, like I said. But 2 minutes to buy insurance, he's telling the security guys at the airport. 2 minutes, you don't even get Maggi noodles anymore, right? But he's telling you that, I challenge even the financial advisors in this room, can you choose insurance in 2 minutes? He said, bas 2 minute ki baat hai. This is where mistakes happen, and these are the messages that are bombarded to us. And we don't realize how at a subliminal level they're working at us. We have been fighting with both regulators, insurance and banking, to say do not allow celebrities to endorse financial products. The Securities and Exchange Board of India did this 25 years ago. Okay? When SEBI was new, there was an IPO coming out with Madhuri Dixit, who had an investment. She was top of the heap those days. And the then SEBI chairman, G.V. Ramakrishna, said, nothing doing. You will not put her photo on the prospectus. She will not come to the press conference. And that rule exists. But this is the world we live in. When I say advocacy, that what one regulator did 25 years ago, they celebrated their 25 years recently. The other two will not listen, even though we have spent the last 20 years sending them memorandums and writing articles. But it works on your mind without you understanding how it does. Finally, everybody has a sales pitch. Okay? So whether it is companies who are dressing themselves up when there is an IPO and hard selling it as the greatest investment, or they are selling you their FDs, their bonds, or the media. Media is hand in glove. You get advertising, the media will not write the negative stories until it's too late. So media is also part of this, and intermediaries get commissions. So very few of them, there are good intermediaries of course, but very few of them are willing to be ethical and decide what is good for you. The law is slowly changing. It has changed around the world after 2008. Governments have begun to say that there has to be an onus on the person who produces a financial product to be responsible for it and to decide whether the product is fit for you or not. But in India, our rockstar RBI governor has still not got into consumer issues as yet. That's not his priority. And insurance, the less said the better. With a lot of effort, some changes happen, but believe me, the process is very slow, and we'll come to it later. One more issue that happens when you're 60 plus is cognitive impairment. This is a physical thing that you need to be conscious about. I think all of you who are 60 plus are bombarded with various ways in which to keep your mind alert every day, do Sudoku, read, memorize, learn languages, whatever. But it affects you even in the financial world. One of the easiest ways in which it affects you is that you end up trusting and believing people who call you or seem like officials a lot more than other people do. So and I'm going to quickly run through a few examples, real life examples of what happens, because some people dismiss this and it does affect them. So we keep telling people, don't keep your investments a secret, share it with at least your children or someone that you trust so that you have a second opinion. Don't, because I know senior citizens who are too embarrassed afterwards to even say that they've made a mistake and they've lost 10 and 15 lakhs. I had a senior editor in Times of India who called me up 4 days ago. He said his uncle lost 10 lakhs to an insurance scam. Doesn't even want his daughter to know because he's so ashamed. And these are people with financial knowledge. That's why when I say cognitive impairment, I'm saying it's not about not knowing the numbers. Most of the time people are not able to explain why they fell for something. So again, some cold facts and numbers. 80% of scam victims, these are US numbers because India doesn't keep numbers like this, okay? 80% of scam victims in the US are above 65. Elder financial abuse by specifically targeting senior citizens for financial scams has accounted for 2.6 billion. And you will see a lot of phishing and wishing scams are especially aimed at senior citizens because people know that they are less likely to be tech savvy and more likely to fall for all the fast changing things that are happening in the technology world. Like I said, no data is compiled. Third thing, that it's a myth that smart people don't get cheated. Smart people, they say, are more easier to cheat than not so smart people. They probably think, I'm so smart, who can cheat me? And I keep saying I have a whole list of stories of doctors, and I keep saying that you have to be 92% plus before you get into medical school. But the manner in which they lose money is so shocking. I have a whole number of stories. I'm not going to waste your time today on some of them. But believe me, it's not about being smart, it is about being careful. And that's what we keep talking about over here. So talking about a doctor, this is a doctor in Dadar. I'm not going to get into details, but believe it or not, she took 25 lakhs, went to Lonavala with 3 charlatans who told her that they get an imported chemical, they'll put it on 4 pieces of paper, and once they put a currency note on top and apply the chemical, the currency note will quadruple. Okay? And you read, I mean, you're laughing, but I'm putting out the article because it's a true story. And not only that, she lived to tell the tale. First of all, trying to forge currency is a crime. They didn't arrest her. Instead, she went to the police and filed a complaint, and those guys got arrested. And we know senior citizens who are murdered for far less than 25 lakhs, that she's alive to tell the tale. I mean, I can't tell you how lucky she is. But people are making horrendous mistakes, even of this kind. And what we are trying to preach is far more sophisticated than that. And I don't know how successful we ever are going to be at it if people fall for something as blatant as this. Okay? This is another story. HSBC, marine engineer, 74. And the crux of it is this, that his wealth manager managed to earn his trust so much that forget about the 25 lakhs plus that he lost in the mutual fund due to churning where the man earned commissions. He actually went to Calcutta and transferred a flat of his in this man's name, going to the registrar's office to sign it. So when we tried to help, they said the man went to the registrar's office and signed a document. How on earth can benefit of doubt be given to him? After everything was gone, his daughter wakes up, comes to us and says, you helped Sucheta Krishnamurthy, but why aren't you helping my father? But for God's sake, I mean, the guy's gone and signed. The police are saying he came here, he doesn't deny it. So there's just no way you can help people with mistakes as horrendous as these. And these are not dumb people, okay? This is a very, very smart person who has made this mistake. I can only think cognitive impairment because nothing else explains why this will happen. Third case, an IS secretary of the Maharashtra government brought this person to us. And we've helped people who've been professors, bought 7 wrong insurance policies, 4 wrong insurance policies, 39. I mean, again, my question was this, where do I start? How do I say that benefit of doubt will go to this person when you buy 39? And he handles, in Tata Motors, he handles the Provident Fund running into a few hundred crores. Not a dumb person, an intelligent person, understands finance. He and his son have no explanation for why this happened, but the amount is 33 lakhs. I have another story of a Nigerian scam, 35 lakhs, a consumer activist. Big chunk of his life savings, absolutely gone. So I keep saying, don't laugh off cognitive impairment, because these are cases where there is no explanation. So bottom line, I keep saying simple, follow up formula, and if it seems too good to be true, it usually is. Okay? One safe thing you can do is ensure that it is regulated. Whatever product that you're buying, it is not easy, but at least ensure that it is regulated by some regulator. Now, it doesn't mean that RBI and SEBI are going to protect you all the time, but at least if they've gone through it, you have a better chance of fighting for your rights than if you buy unregulated products. And this includes, you know how many people have lost money in plantation companies? Nobody has got it back. This is the 90s. How many have lost money in art funds? Cases are still going on. 20, 30 years. Guaranteed returns on realty schemes. Now there are people who say, but this company's made an IPO and it's listed. Yeah, the company is listed, it's made an IPO. The realty scheme, like a fixed deposit with a guaranteed return that company is offering you, is not regulated and not looked at by the regulator. So look at what scheme you're buying. And the more and more that you look at the big ways, the big ticket ways in which people have got cheated, they are fooling people with schemes that appear to be regulated, appear like a mutual fund, appear like a debenture. So you have to be doubly careful. One of them, two big sources where people lose money in India across the board. It doesn't matter what age, weight, height, religion, caste, gender you are. People are losing money in big ways to Ponzi schemes, MLMs, or what are called chain money schemes. Any scheme that says that you have to get in 2, 9, 7, whatever the number. If you have to bring in people in order to get a high return, that is a scheme you have to avoid like the plague. Doesn't matter what they tell you. It ultimately is a pyramid because they're paying back from the money that they're collecting from you. So you've heard of the QNets. In fact, we keep saying, even an Amway, don't touch it. Multinational maybe, regulated maybe, but the kind of money that you earn on it is very, very little. So simple, test. Are they asking you to spread it to more people and become a distributor? Are they hard selling distribution as much as returns? If they are doing that, stay away from the scheme. Okay? The returns can be anything. It could be, Sharda scam did not promise very high returns, okay? But it was a money circulation scheme. It can be 100%, it can be 300%. Upper limit depends on your gullibility. But people fall. I keep saying, instead of selling a copy of the magazine and saying how to be safe, if I just put up a board outside my office saying 15% return guaranteed, I don't think I would have to work again for the rest of my life. I would have enough money. Right? So the danger is that those who earn high returns initially, again, what people say is, but I got a check, I got money. That means sahi hai. Okay? In fact, it's a wrong test, because the guy who gets his money is in fact going to evangelize it to his relatives, his friends. There are videos on our website, something called Pearls. And a very, very poor illiterate man says he lost 10 lakhs. He said, so I called up the person who had arranged this meeting and I said, 10 lakhs? This man doesn't look like he has 10 lakhs. So he says, no, mine is 30,000. Rest of them is my family, friends, relatives who put money in Pearls. Because you got your first check in 3 months, which works out to 120% a year. So you say, this is perfect, this is fantastic, this guy has given me money. And you're managing to convince. In fact, what happens is that if he had money in a fixed deposit safely in a bank, he would have withdrawn that and put. Because who's going to keep money in a bank earning 8% if you're going to get 120%, 15%, whatever, a significantly higher return? You withdraw what you have, and when it goes bust, not only have you lost all your money, but everybody that you influenced has been wiped out, because they're getting those initial checks, and in fact it's the same money that is repeatedly plugged back. The other one is the advanced fee scam. It comes in many names. Some people call it the Nigerian scam, some people call it the lottery scam. You get those emails saying your email has been chosen. Or you get that email which says, I am Subbarao, RBI Governor, or I am Dr. Raghuram Rajan, we have an escrow account and you won it. Or your ancestors had some dispute and now I'm going to give you money, fill it up. No money comes. If you are tempted, let me tell you what happens. You write to them, you will immediately get a response, and they will give you very, very authentic sounding documents. They have their spiel, their line absolutely pat. They sound very official. They throw names. They pretend that they have connections with the government, with the police, with everybody. You're fully convinced. They start asking you for some small fee. They'll say some hitch, some registration charge. So you pay that first 200 rupees maybe, or 1200 rupees, because you're getting 10 million, right? Or maybe 25 million. So you're quite happy to pay that initial amount. The minute they know you're gullible enough to make that first payment, there are more stories. Some of them even come and meet you. Then it's 10,000 rupees. I told you a consumer activist, he had to be sacked. 35 lakhs. I mean, we still can't, he didn't tell anybody. So here I am, part of the organization, writing about Nigerian scams all the time, and the man didn't tell me he's taking his personal money, withdrawing from mutual funds and giving it to these Nigerian scamsters. It took 4 years after he was sacked to convince him that the money is not going to come back, because he believed that people had treated him unfairly and the money is still going to come for 4 years after. Okay, let me tell you that this is how the mind works. Ignore all such emails. The government spends a lot of time, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, RBI, putting out ads. We don't notice these ads, okay? But there are ads coming out all the time. In fact, the governor's email has a line at the bottom saying, the RBI does not have escrow accounts, the RBI has not kept any money, the RBI does not give any money to people. You get these mails from the income tax. Today, the government is forcing you to file your tax returns online. And you get emails which are so authentic that even people like me pause a little bit and say, is this really the income tax or what? Do not click on anything that you don't understand. When in doubt, share it with someone. It looks very authentic, double check, ask someone. So all government regulatory agencies could possibly be sending you an email. Could be the income tax saying you're getting a return. Anyone who's giving you a lollipop, giving you something back, this government doesn't give anything back, right? I mean, you know how much you have to fight for your tax returns. So if you get an email saying you're going to get something back, please be suspicious, okay? Ask somebody, because most of the time, this is such well done scams. They clone email IDs. The email IDs look like it's an RBI.org ID or an income tax ID, and the income tax department has it in some page somewhere where they know about these scams, and they say, if it is these IDs, beware. Our ID is only so much. For God's sake, who looks at it? I mean, even we who preach financial literacy don't go every day to look at it. The ordinary person doesn't. The only way is be suspicious all the time. It's going to help you. Ignore even mails which come from friends saying, here's a Western Union address, I've got standard in Paris or wherever else. All those are scams, okay? People go and give money to them, that's why the new one's coming. It's just affects everybody in your address book. All the person needs to do is change his password and it's fine. Pick up the phone and call the person. So even if it's a call to the US, you have his mobile number, call up. Nobody is stranded anywhere. This is one of the big advanced fee scams around the world. Phishing and wishing. This is identity theft, which is becoming, I think you must have read in Times of India today, right? Credit card frauds have doubled and all of us need to use them. So similarly, the government is pushing us more and more and more online, while you have a whole bunch of fraudsters who are all international, who are spending all their time figuring out more and more sophisticated ways in which to take your money away from you. So you have to be careful who you're giving your login details to. Each single point of information, your name, your address, your date of birth, is not a big international secret, but you put it all together, and especially when you attach an Aadhaar card to it, really you're putting your life open for very smart fraudsters to be able to extract money. So please ignore. There are people who will say, I got a call. Wishing is something I need to explain. Phishing is when you get this email saying your account is going to be closed, your bank account is going to be suspended unless you verify your details. So no bank asks you to do it on email. Anytime you have to have a simple rule that I will contact my bank. Okay? So even if someone says, I'm your banker, you tell him put the phone down, don't call back on that number and redial. Okay? You have to have, when you open an account, you know what numbers you have the call center. Yes, it's boring, dial 1 for this, dial 2 for that, dial, N for customer services. You will have to be patient. Either ignore. Nothing will happen. No one's going to close your account unless you've done something overtly. If you're worried, you make the call on the official number that you have. Please do not listen to anybody who calls you, even if they call you for charity. I get a call yesterday saying somebody's baby is in danger. This has also gone online. It used to be women at the signals who said somebody is dead, kafan ke liye paisa do, but now that's also turned online. So you have to be careful about everything that comes on the phone. Do not respond to it. Yes, it means that we have to be a little more hard-hearted and a little more cynical, but it keeps your money safe. Your bank details, log your number with the bank because you get alerts. So you know people have got alerts in the middle of the night, 6 alerts on their phone. What do they see? Their credit card is being used in Spain. But at least you're able to call up and stop further erosion of your money right there. So it is useful to register your numbers. Phishing is when they pretend to be like a call center. They call you up and they say, this is a survey that's being done by XYZ Bank, and don't worry, it's not, it's an official call. One of my colleagues will call you in 10 minutes. All sounds very official. So your mind has been prepared. These are all the mind games. 10 minutes later, another official sounding person will call up and say, verify these details. So since your mind has been prepared for that second call, you blurt out your PIN number or whatever identification details. Please avoid these calls. Just bang the phone down. Don't even need to entertain them. Money circulation schemes, the returns can be anywhere from 15%, like I said, to 120%. Most of them, they offer instruments that look like regulated ones. So some of them call themselves chit funds. Okay? Chit funds, there are good regulated chit funds. Most people in Tamil Nadu will invest in them. But a Sharda called itself a chit fund, it wasn't. Okay? It was a money circulation scheme that masqueraded like a chit fund and was blowing up money. They pretend to be secured debentures. Sahara, if you remember, was optionally fully convertible debentures. There are a dozen of them. Since most of you do not spend time looking at SEBI press releases like we do, today, every single day since October, SEBI is banning at least 2 of them. So that shows you how many of them were there. The numbers are mind-bogglingly huge. I'm going to show you some. The promoters build credibility through proximity to politicians. So the minute you start seeing the photographs of somebody all the time in the media with some film star, some politician, you have to actually worry rather than be comfortable about the fact that this is a rich guy, very well connected. And best example is Sahara. Sharda was exactly the same. He was all the time going around with film stars and politicians, and at least 2 ministers have been arrested. Beware of any scheme. In fact, what we say is the benchmark should be 3% above a bank FD. Anytime someone is offering you 3% above a bank FD, your alarm bells have to ring rather than you thinking this is a great offer. Because there's something wrong if someone is willing to pay you more money than he should to raise money for his business. Any businessman wants to raise money at the lowest possible cost. He's not running a charity, does not want to pay you 5%, 10% more. He certainly does not want to pay you 120% return unless that money is in the capital market. And there, with a little bit of study, you can invest it yourself. You don't need someone else to do it. Pearls, which I was talking about, he fought in court for 25 years using the money of the people. Look at the number, 49,100 crore. Okay, 25 years after he was actually caught, he could drag it through court, ensure that there was a stay order on regulatory action, and keep raising more money. People do not read newspapers. Mainline newspapers wrote about it, but it went up from 20,000 crore to 49,000 crore. This is how gullible people are, because people kept giving it after this has been in the papers. Sharda, I'm not even talking numbers, 23 suicides, a life lost, I mean, what can be worse than that? Action has stepped up only since 2012, and I would really say action has stepped up since October 2012. And the reason is not because SEBI suddenly became conscious of the plight of people who had lost money, but it's more about the battle for power between SEBI and somebody saying let's have a super regulator and merge all the regulators. So they have started showing some action, not because they're worried about you and me. City limousine, people have lost money. This man made a film like Chak De India, biggest patriot, was all the time seen with Dilip Kumar and Shah Rukh Khan. and was giving a 120% return for 3 years. Now he's absconding with his entire family. Okay, these are 10,000 people sitting outside Azad Maidan police station. And I keep saying that there were 6,000 policemen who had invested in this scheme. Yeah? So 10,000 people will be there. Vashi has how many people? And this room is not full, right? Because people will not come to learn, but people will then go and sit there in front of the police and say, get us our money back. I'm willing to take a bet those 6,000 policemen have got their money back. There were some 200 Mantralaya officers, there were some 25 income tax officers who had put their money here. They would have got their money back, not this 10,000. Okay? Sahara, you know the money that they collected? This is when I say the effectiveness of these schemes, 73,000 crore. This is their own ad. Okay? And this is our regulators. They make you write fat prospectuses when you're doing an IPO. We wrote to the RBI which said the logo is there on every cricketer's shirt, right? But this is their official ad talking about a mind-boggling number like 73,000 crore. No logo, no name, no signature. And we will return your money 3 years ahead of time. The money is still not returned. This is, we will repay our total liabilities in 2015. I think this ad was in 2011, December 2011. Where is Subrata Roy sitting in jail since 2014? No one's money has come back. Of course, you're lucky that these guys didn't come and approach us. We believe that a lot of it is, you know, this is the biggest mystery in this country which nobody talks about. 73,000 crore, not even 5 investors who stand up to make a noise. Okay? Unlike the 10,000 who sat outside. So anyway, you take a guess what it is and why. But you know why there are no investors in Sahara. And every new starlet feels that this is the easiest way to make money. This woman was offering a 300% return, a 400% return. I mean, I look at it and say, how gullible would you have to be if you give a starlet your money because she's saying 400%? I mean, I wish I knew who can earn that kind of money. But she earned several crores. Like I said, I'm in the wrong business. I'm now coming to the next part, which is, okay, I've told you what not to do, so what do? All of us will put our money in banks first, right? So the first thing we would do is not keep it at home, we will go to a bank. We are lucky that more than 43% of Indian banking is still nationalized. So Sarkar, Mai-Baap, even if net worth is eroded, your money is safe, right? So I would say if you have to trust first until the government holding comes below 51%, we have nothing to worry about when it comes to nationalized banks. Second, as a country, we were ahead of the rest of the world. In 2008, they allowed Lehman Brothers to fail before they woke up and said no big banks or big organizations should fail. So AIG and Citibank and others were rescued. We were smarter. We saved even Global Trust Bank after the Ketan Parekh scam. So anyone who is big, the government doesn't allow them to fail. They put a gun to the head of a public sector bank, say do a merger, so your money has been safe. What is not safe is if you put it in cooperative banks. Okay? And please do not tell me what if we buy shares, you know, does it make it safer? No, it does not make it safer. Almost every month one cooperative bank fails. It's a small little press release that comes from the RBI. It's one para in the business newspapers. I don't think the general newspapers even bother to write. And this is because they are under dual regulation. You know that the registrar of cooperatives is completely politicized, and action doesn't happen for almost a year or two after the bank is completely bankrupt. How much of your money is safe? 1 lakh. Okay? 1 lakh per identity, not per account. So if you say I have 5 accounts, it's not 1 lakh per account. This comes to you 2-3 years after the bank has gone bust. For the RBI to put the bank into liquidation takes 3-4 years because the politicians are fighting to prevent that happening. Some banks which are actually bust have not even gone into liquidation. The first thing they do is stop giving you your fixed deposits. So the money is in the bank, you are in suspended animation, you neither know whether it's coming back or not. So cooperative banks, if it were my hard-earned money, I would not put it there. There are a couple of exceptions. There are 2 or 3 big cooperative banks which are as good as nationalized banks. Yeah, sure, they are safe, but most of the others are not. You may be lucky, someone may take it over, you may not lose money, but I wouldn't, if I'm being prudent, I wouldn't put my money there. So then you have this new concept, relationship managers, right? All of us were very thrilled when banks started having relationship managers. We're no longer standing in front of tellers who are chatting away, standing in the queue, they're coming and doing all the work for you. And you're inviting them home, giving them a cup of tea, and after they know everything about your finances, they're selling you other products. So they're not coming there for a banking relationship. Most of them are coming to sell you insurance, selling you wealth management services, they're selling you all kinds of structured derivative products. So the question is, do you trust them? As long as it's your decision and you're getting it implemented, it's a wonderful thing to have a relationship manager. But if you're going to listen to what they're saying, then it may not always work. Okay? So let's look at what happens. Relationship managers are driven by their targets. They have very, very stiff targets. They don't meet them, 3 months later they're out of a job. So it's not about you and concern for you, it is about them having to meet their targets. As simple as that. Which is why you would see your relationship manager changes every 6 months or 7 months. He goes to a new bank. Sometimes he calls you up from there and says, sir, why don't you open an account with my bank? I will give you the same service. When the relationship manager changes, usually they'll come back and say, no, those investments were not good, I'll give you better ones. Because it's not about those investments. He doesn't put you as his list of persons unless he can sell you a new product. So the old ones go into the account of the guy who's left the job. The new one has to sell you new products. How will that happen? He either has to make you sell something. So if it's a mutual fund, they earn fees even when you're selling, not just buying. And then he has to make you buy something else, right? So it's a simple business deal and you need to know how it works. Mangelal Sharma, this is a story that you should know about among the few stories. He was sold by what he thought was a mutual, no, not a mutual fund, he was sold a fixed deposit. He was told that this is a new branded fixed deposit from Deutsche Bank, and he discovered, and it pay a slightly higher interest rate. And he said, DWS, the guy tells him, Uncle, आप सिर्फ DWS लिख दो, sign करो check, मैं बाकी का सब करूँगा. We love this, right? Someone is doing everything for you, he's come home, he's picking up your check. When he got his statement the next year, he realized that it was a mutual fund of Deutsche Bank with a 5-year lock-in, not develop your wealth scheme, which is what he was told DWS stands for. And he said, I'm 79, I don't want a 5-year locked-in scheme. My wife has to have knee surgery. Why would I ever put my money in a 5-year lock-in scheme? You have cheated me. So they told him, go to hell. He went to the banking ombudsman. They asked him one question, did you sign? He said, yes, I signed. He said, let me tell you why I signed, not interested. Did you sign? So you lost the case. Then he came up with a better idea. He printed these t-shirts, he's a yoga instructor, okay, very fit, sings well. Printed a t-shirt with his photo there, with blood coming out of his eyes. And he said, this bank has cheated me, it will cheat you too. He used to go to the bank every day, and he used to sing and dance so that people look at him and said, read this. They did this to me, they do it to you. We got to know he was doing this, so we wrote about it. Then we put it on social media, it went viral. We of course sent it to the RBI as well. The next evening, the relationship manager went to his house and returned his money. Okay? But not everybody is so lucky, not everybody is going to do what Mangelal Sharma did. Right? How many of you are going to print a t-shirt in this room? Very rare. You will? Fantastic. Good to see. So, what you need to be careful about, this I picked up from ICICI only because they're sending this out, most of us don't notice it. But what do you do? Always remember your internet and mobile password, change it at least once a month, complete your online banking sessions, remember to log off. Frankly, I don't even do online banking, that's even safer. Ensure that no one sees you entering your PIN. For God's sake, people forget, or your debit card. I see people in restaurants giving their PIN to the waiters. Okay? Yeah. And the waiter says, ask for it, or they're doing it in public, they're doing it in malls without even bothering to put their hand on the numbers. So please remember, it's the biggest blunder. And people are giving it to the waiters. I mean, I have not seen anything more lazy than that. Never share your password, PIN, OTP with anybody. And we stand here after so many years of experience. We have had cases where people have complained, their own nephews, their own servants in the house have misused their PIN or ATM because they're saying it aloud to someone and people have noted it. Senior journalist, you know, when they complain, they get taken seriously. The video shows that it was the servant in their own house. Another lady, IS officer's mother, managed to make a noise, got her money back. When they looked at the video, they saw it was her nephew who had come visiting for 15 days who had taken it out. What did she do? She used to keep the debit card with the PIN number written on a piece of paper, which is along with the same debit card. So all he had to do is take it out, take her money, go away. Okay? So be careful. It doesn't matter if they are your relatives. It can be anybody. And I don't know whether you use internet at airports and whatever, but if you do, please don't use it for banking transactions. I mean, it's okay to see it in ads, but please do not use it for banking transactions. Banking tips, relationship managers are not investment advisors. They're told 5 things to sell, they go and hard sell it. They don't know anything more, hardly much more than you. Store phone numbers and emails of your relationship manager because after they have sold you something, they are not accessible. So until they have sold you something, his boss and his boss's boss, because those two don't leave the job very easily, you must note those numbers and emails, okay? Because they are the ones you're going to complain to afterwards. That guy who sold you the wrong product has changed the job. RBI customer charter now gives you a lot more rights, but like everything else, I say advocacy is needed. The RBI has given you a brilliant motherhood statement, which is customers' rights, which take care of every problem, but they're not prescribed any punishment. So we've been breaking our heads with the RBI for over a year saying, what is the point of this charter if you don't say what are the consequences for them not fulfilling it, and we have yet to get an answer. So advocacy in this field is the most difficult. Bank versus company fixed deposit. Someone asked me earlier, is FD good for you? Lots of people have lost money irrespective of the brand name. So if the return is 3% higher, you have to be careful. I've said this earlier as well. The best groups, I told you about Helios and Matheson. 6 years I've been writing about it until they finally stopped paying the money. Nobody would even believe what I wrote. They said I had a problem with Helios and Matheson. Same thing with a bunch of companies, DSQ software. I can keep naming names, there's no point. The Birla Group, okay? You have the guy on high-end motorbikes all over the place on page 3, but his wife is still opening jewelry stores, but he's not returning money, right? Insurance, I'm just going to touch on it for 2 things. This is an area where we have written 25 cover stories. We think it's the most difficult. I'm not going to talk about it for the simple reason that 3 hours will not be enough. All I'm going to say is that you need certain kinds of insurance. It is the only thing you have for contingencies. You have to understand it's the exact opposite of buyer beware. In buyer beware, you're supposed to read the fine print before you invest. In insurance, they take you to be these wonderful, honest, truthful gentlemen who will declare in their form, I have hypertension, I've had a bypass, I have diabetes. They don't even look at the form, fill it, you got your date of birth wrong, you're saying you're 63 instead of 83, they're not going to look at it until you make a claim. The day you make a claim, a magnifying glass comes out to look at what you've said. Every little mistake is reason enough for rejection, okay? So you have to be really careful because you could have paid insurance premium for 10 years, it doesn't matter. You have a mistake, it's out and you're not going to get a penny back. And there is no question of charity, sympathy, I feel sorry for you, oh my God, you made a mistake, it's a genuine, honest mistake, nothing works. Ignore agents who tell you, this is a constant thing we have seen, agents who come and say, you're not fitting, okay, why don't you buy it in the name of your grandson? Or your wife qualifies, so don't buy it in your name, buy it in your wife's name. No, insurance is not as simple as I won't buy it, I'll buy it for my wife or I'll buy it for my grandchild. It does not work like this. The biggest frauds happen in insurance. So we have helped people get 48 lakhs back because Reliance Insurance had an agent who kept calling up people saying, whatever the premium that you pay, 10 times as much, you're getting an interest-free loan. And we have had tragic stories. We managed to help a lot of people get their money back. After our complaints with IRDA, they say they sacked the agent. We still, if you look at our articles, there are people who are still being cheated with the same trick. And the reason I'm naming names is that IRDA has taken no action against the company. So there are new agents cheating in that name. I know someone who borrowed 1 lakh to pay the premium because he wanted a 10 lakh interest-free loan. Okay, so now he has neither. And these are really very, very tragic stories, and the numbers are huge. Please go and look at our website and you'll see the comments. They come from across the country. And we keep saying the people whom we reached or we could help will be probably 0.5%. There are any number of people who are cheated who don't even know. And you know, there are others which are even worse, ambulance chasers. Ambulance chaser is the wrong word. They get your data, they know someone close to you is dead, they call up and say that person had an insurance policy which is about to mature, pay a small amount and you're going to get 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs, and they extract say 50,000, starting with your gullibility, 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakh. We've had any number of complaints, start with a small amount and it's completely fake. After that money is paid, those people vanish. Till that time they're able to give all kinds of details. This money, IRDA doesn't care. You file complaints afterwards, this money doesn't come back. So insurance is an area where there is a whole lot of cheating by complete fraudsters. These are usually people who have worked at some time or the other in the sector. So they use the right terminology, they know the system, they know the products, they sound extremely convincing, they name names, okay? So they will talk about branch managers, they claim to be from a certain company, and most of it turns out to be fraud. So it's an area where you have to watch out the most. Avoid emotional atyachar, as I call it, because I keep saying senior citizens lose money the most falling for people. Children who will say, let's pool the house, you have a small house, Papa, let's pool it together, we'll go to a 3-bedroom house, wonderful, do it for your kid as long as you're co-owner. Because we have cases where people have been thrown out, okay? And a lot of times, you know, maybe the husband is protected, but if the husband is no longer there, the wife really suffers. So please think about these decisions. Don't stand as guarantor, introducer. It is no longer necessary. So start becoming a little hard-headed about these things that you take for granted and say, you know, I have to do it, it's my son or it's my daughter-in-law. No, you don't have to. You have to examine options, consult somebody whether there is no other alternative, and only then become a guarantor. It affects your credit score as well. And I'm saying all this based on real life examples, okay? I'm not cooking these up. So remember, it has happened to somebody, and it's usually not 1 or 2 people. So we say, protect yourself. I mean, I'm saying all this. There is a Maintenance and Welfare of Parents and Senior Citizens Act. I'm sure there are some senior citizen activists here who know about it. I'm not saying it works smoothly, but remember there is a law, and the law is very, very strict. You can file a complaint. I know it's a huge emotional issue before anybody can dare to file a complaint about their children, but don't be helpless is all that I'm going to say today. Contact an organization. There are so many who work with senior citizens, Silver Innings, Dignity, Helpage. Get help, because there is a law, and under the law you have a right to protection. I will not get into these details, time is short, but you know that it's there on our website, you can look at it. What happens when most of your money is gone into that big house that you got for your retirement, and now inflation and savings are eroding? So there is a product called reverse mortgage, which means that you can draw down the value of your house and get money every month. Now, this product could be better. In America, you get higher returns for the same value. In India, because the government doesn't take any of the role as a social welfare thing, they don't do either the insurance or the interest risk. So we get a little lower return. But if you have a home, you don't have to worry about, you know, not having spending money at all. And a lot of people these days, they have a home, their children are not going to live in it because their children are doing far better than they did, okay? The children are living in far better houses. Many of them do not want to ask their children for money. So you know that after your children are anyway going to sell that house. You can decide that instead of wanting money from your child, you can draw down the value of that house and not have to go and ask anyone. They should talk more about this product details in his session. But I'm just saying that there is a product like this. Finally, important, be connected, because it's a game changer today. You want to save costs, please get yourself a smartphone. Be careful about what apps you download because you give away information. But whether it is a taxi that you want at your doorstep, you want groceries delivered to you because you're too tired or it's too much of an effort to go and shop. Whatever you need is available online. You need help, it is available online. You want to complain to the police or the regulator, it is online. So I don't think there is a choice. Again, here's an area where get together with senior citizens associations. Many of them are happy to conduct classes. We would be happy to conduct classes on basic technology literacy. It is important. You must know basics about apps. You must know what you should be careful about, and you must know how to use them because it is making your life a lot easier. And really, I keep saying, my mother is the benchmark. If at 81 she has 4 WhatsApp groups, I have one. Okay. If she has Facebook friends and she's communicating with them, I don't think anybody in this room has an excuse not to do it. You can do it, right? So don't say, why should I don't need it, I have a simple phone. It makes your life a lot easier. I'm not going to go into estate planning tools. These are the different ways in which you can leave things. Again, we'll do a special session on wills. We do a special session on wills. So I'm just going to touch on it. That wills are simple to do. You need 2 witnesses. There is no stamp duty, no registration, can be written on a plain piece of paper as long as you are of sound mind. So don't leave it too late. And you can change it any number of times. So right until your deathbed, you can revoke and say, I'm revoking all others and write out a last will in your handwriting. It's valid. So don't worry that you've not made up your mind. You can change, you can add. So a will is a necessity. Nominations are even more necessary. I keep telling all the men in the room, remember, please provide for your wife. Too many people say that, how do I write my will that she live in my house and then it goes to my child? And I keep saying, make sure she has it first because women outlive men, global average, by an average of 8 years. Okay? So it is your duty to provide for your wife, and all the women here, make sure that you ensure that it's done. Okay? Because it's the one thing that men don't bother about. If you don't, it goes by the law of succession. So while the woman would have played an equal role in every penny that you have earned, when it comes to getting it, she's just 1 or 4, 5, 6 people who's going to get a share. So your children may have walked away, but you're not able to leave anything for her unless you write it down in a will. I think it's your duty. And look at some of the blunders that happen when you don't. Nomination, I keep saying, simple. Even before the will, if you ensure that your nomination is correct without waiting for all the other formalities, a person gets access to the house and your cash, okay, and your insurance, your bank account. But people won't do it. People will not ensure that it's updated. Please go back today and see whether all your fixed deposits have updated your nomination or not. You will be surprised at what you find. Again, there are studies, it's not me saying, less than 30% of the people have nominations up to date. Okay? And look at what happens here. This is a case, this man died, he got divorced, okay? He had 1.4 crore in his savings bank account. He died within a year after he got a divorce. So the divorce was a proper settlement. He hadn't changed the nomination on his savings bank account. And the woman who was divorced, remarried, in fact that was the reason why he got divorced, came to fight for the money. So his old mother was dragged through courts because she couldn't get access to that 1.44 crore until a long battle, and where the judge finally said, there are not enough legal precedents, but I'm not going to give it to the wife. She's already divorced. So please look at your nominations. It is so important. And it may seem trivial, but this is, as I call basic financial hygiene that someone should have taken care of. His divorce lawyer should have ensured this, okay? But who suffered? Not a wife, an old mother. Okay? So you never know who's going to be the victim of your carelessness. Be careful. Register your marriage. Simplest way to avoid succession problems. Many people in this room would have had a traditional marriage which did not need to be registered. You can go and register it even today. It becomes a kind of succession certificate. It includes photographs, your photograph, your wife, your children. There are no disputes afterwards, even about things like, do you have 3 children or there is one unknown child whom nobody knew about? You know, Indrani Mukherjee type, some fort somewhere which no one knew. Avoid all those problems, get it registered so that that itself becomes a succession document. Those of you who work where there is pensions, family pension, government pension, this letter, the succession certificate or marriage certificate acts like a succession certificate, is accepted everywhere. And it's easy to do. If you don't know how, all of you have our address over there. Write to us. We know somebody who is evangelizing this because of a couple of cases that happened with his colleagues, wants to help people. So you have any doubts, write to us later and we will try and help. But email us, okay? I mean, this is where I insist on some tech literacy. We are too small an organization to be able to meet and do people, do this helping physically. You'll have to email us. That's it. I really went fast, but we will have the second session, which I think is even more important because it's about what to do to beat inflation and keep your money safe, and we'll have the question answers afterwards. So over to Devashish.